every day. Like
Richard.
so when I look at this, I have no.
Can you hear us? Hey, can you hear
I'm
us?
not. Yeah, I hear you.
All right. Welcome to the Convo Couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
Jonny Tsunami on the ones and twos, and we have a guest. You can hear him. He's going
He's going off already.
I'm ready to
go. Going off already, man.
We brought him on because he goes off, so we love it.
Man.
We all go off.
I'm ready to go, man.
Let's go. This is like an explosive setup right here. We got.
Who said what, man? Let's put it down. Like. There's so much to talk about. I woke up angry.
I'm glad because that's why we have you on the show and stuff.
I know your favorite person.
It's a pleasure.
Well, hold on. I want to introduce real quick.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say Richard Medhurst is with us today. You remember Rich? I call him Dick, my good friend over here. Fam, let's not forget. I had Richard Medhurst on the show back in the days when he was Poppy Chulaman, when nobody knew about him, and I was like. Just like when I discovered you and saw you, I was like, oh, that's talent right there. I said the same thing about Richard Medhurst. So I just want to point out to everybody I have an eye for talent, and I brought him on back.
Typical white Western man. Okay, go ahead.
Credit for everything.
Typical American.
Now,
okay.
Really, before we get started,
it's so good to be here for real though. Like it's always a pleasure, man. It is. It really is. Thank you.
Well,
thank you for being here.
We always love to talk to you because you're also from the region. It's kind of important. A lot of people don't talk foreign policy, and we found it important to not only just read and see what's going on, look at different sources, and get away from the empire education, as Johnny likes to quote it, but talk to people from that area. So I remember having the first conversation. Your parents are from Syria. They actually, I think they worked for humanitarian aid, and they got married on the Golan Heights, right?
So my mother is Syrian, my dad is English, but yeah, they work together on peacekeeping missions. Several of them. So I was moving all over the place with them too. So not just in the Golan Heights. The one in the Golan Heights that's UNDOF. So United Nations Disengagement Observer Force, and then UNIFIL is the one between on the border of South Lebanon and Israel, and also one in Pakistan, the Kashmir mission. UNIVEM as well, the one in Angola and then Namibia. I mean, I forget. There's so many of the there's so many of these acronyms. It's hard to keep up. But yeah. So they worked as UN peacekeepers and observers.
Yeah. Well, let's get started here. I'm going to hand it off to Fee. Really quick, though, ladies and gentlemen, I did write an article about the election in L.A. and what took place here. Remember, we like to talk about how important elections are, that if we don't have election integrity, we don't have anything. And more importantly, if we don't get the right elected officials, we can't, stop all these regime change wars, stop these sanctions, stop these awful foreign policy things. But fam, we did get somebody in office for us, didn't we? Or did we not? Our good friend AOC?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, she was supposed to be the one to go against the establishment and oppose it. And she's been not really doing that at all, actually. She's been delegating the caucus leadership, telling Nancy Pelosi that she's her mama bear. And that's just domestically, foreign policy-wise, she's been pretty bad. And then we have the national security issues. And the unfortunate part is that I expect it from the neoliberals. I expect the neoliberals to be terrible on security. They always promote censorship. But then we have the Democratic Socialist wing of the progressive part of the left in America, and AOC has kind of become an emblem of that. And recently, I have seen her literally push for more censorship because it's Donald Trump. And just because it's Donald Trump, that means we just want to censor everybody, okay? And this Trump derangement syndrome is doesn't escape the socialist left. So let's just take a look at her at the original tweet, which is right up here. And the original tweet is Twitter, and they're talking about when it comes to conversations with government and state affiliated media accounts on Twitter, we're helping to make the experience more transparent. We'll now use 2 distinct profile labels for these type of accounts, as you can easily identify them and their tweets. So based on this, she went on and said, I appreciate that Twitter is a platform that's at least trying to stop disinformation, verifying news outlets, etc. Stopping misinformation isn't sitting around for years debating ideas. It's about testing tactics, trying ideas, and to find what's effective. So essentially, she is supporting what Twitter is saying. And she also went down and said, just as purveyors of misinformation are constantly testing new techniques, so should we in verifying info. Not everything we try is going to work. Is a ban on political ads the best route? Probably not, but at least there's a willingness to recognize how dangerous misinformation is and act. Okay, so once again, I just want to get you guys' take on this right away. She's using the classic, we need to protect people's information and take care of people in our country and our security. So we need to censor people. Well, the bullshit thing that happens when you censor people, AOC, people you just disagree with on the right, it literally comes back and haunts the left. It haunts people like us. It literally hurts people like us and you, Richard, who are targeted by YouTube and Google all the time for the things we continuously talk about. So if you're going to push censorship on the right, it's going to happen on the left or on everybody. And it's a slippery slope. Let's hear what you have to say. What do you think about this?
Well, I think the first thing to look at is the language, because if you look at these labels that Twitter are putting underneath, they say like Russia state affiliated media, right? Or China state affiliated media. Yet when you look at BBC or you look at CBC News or you look at any of the Western news outlets, not only is there nothing there, but they won't use the same kind of vocabulary. They won't say state-backed or state-affiliated or regime. Like that's only for global South countries, right? That's only for countries that are not allied to the United States, that are not pro-imperialist, right? They have state-controlled and regime-controlled media and institutions. So I think that's very, very important and very interesting, and tells you everything you need to know about their intentions and what they're trying to accomplish here. It's part of the conditioning, right? It's part of this drip propaganda every day that, in the global South, they have state-backed media. This is authoritarian. It's all propaganda. But in the West, we have free journalistic institutions. We have objective news. Yeah. When it's ironically the complete goddamn opposite. I mean, the CIA are practically bragging for decades about how they control the goddamn media all over the world, never mind inside the United States. And the fact that she is on board with this tells you everything you need to know. I mean, I look at what she's writing here on Twitter. Dude, you take away the name, I don't know who that is. Could be George Bush, could be Hillary. Who knows? Yeah. This is another pretext that is being used to crap all over journalists and journalistic press, freedoms and integrity. And because they don't want anybody challenging U.S. hegemony, they don't want anybody challenging U.S. imperialism, they can just use this as a kind of like to stamp people with, you see, they're backed by the Russians. And they tried to do this just recently with Rania Khaled, right? So she does a soapbox and in the Now, and they wrote underneath her page on Facebook that she's backed by the Russian state. Like you're seeing here, like some kind of Russia state affiliated media or something. Completely baseless, false accusation. I mean, completely just out of thin air, fabricated, 100%. Yeah. And so she's suing them for defamation because of that. And I think that's really important because it's going to benefit all of us as well. Right. If God willing, the outcome is in her favor, because they can't get away with this. Just labeling journalists that they don't like because they challenge U.S. hegemony and U.S. imperialism as being Russian state-backed. I mean, first of all, the xenophobia is unbelievable. As if like anyone allegedly nefarious is automatically Russian. Like the conditioning is crazy. But moreover, how they just use this as a stamp to discredit and delegitimize journalists and people who are not okay with this predatory foreign policy that the United States has been practicing for decades now. It's really disgusting. And you would think that somebody on the so-called left would protest against that. But she ain't on the left, man. Let's not kid ourselves here. She's a fucking crypto neoliberal.
Yeah, it's funny, too. I want to mention the fact that you talked about the intelligence community, the way they, have their fingers in their Operation Mockingbird. But the left isn't even hiding it now. In fact, they're giving these people jobs. It's like, what do you think, James Clapper? Oh, James Clapper, who just lied to Congress about the way the NSA was spying on us and stuff, and Snowden had to really reveal that. That's who they're putting on. It's like they're propping up these people now, and these people George are Bush, the worst. But not even part of that, too. Part of the conditioning you're saying, too, as well, because we talk about the empire education. But to me, this is a sign, and I know later on in the show we're going to get to talk about Beirut and stuff like that, but there were so many signals and sign yo, something's going to happen here. Israel with the false flag on the border. Wait, they're talking to Hezbollah. Wait, something's going to happen. Same thing here right now. The tensions with China and Russia heating up, especially with China, and now they're stamping it. And the left, they're getting them early. AOC gets in. She's already an anti-imperialist. Excuse me, she's not even an anti-imperialist like we thought she is. She's an actual imperialism. Back in imperialism.
Yeah, 100%.
And standing behind this stuff, not to mention the civil liberties. I don't know if you know this, Dick, but I'm a civil liberties guy, okay? I believe protecting my civil liberties.
Yeah.
And this is just, once again, that slippery slope. Once you open up this can of shit worms, the government is not supposed to tell you what is a lie and what is not a lie. If somebody's not threatening somebody harmfully with death, then it's up to the public, the people, to decide. That's what our
it's
civil
not the government.
is all
it's the private companies, too, that are deciding. And these are
about.
giant corporations that get to decide. They're far, far too big. And we shouldn't have them or the government be deciding. We should have people deciding. And once again, they always use national security or somebody's security to promote this sort of idea that we need Big Brother watching over us, and it couldn't be further from the truth.
Well, is that the question? I mean, right now there's always talks that the CIA kind of started at Facebook, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, how deep?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, seriously, how deep? And you wouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised. You tell me that. I think they got a hand in all the media.
Yeah.
They use the media as their number one tool right nowadays. So, I mean, I don't know what to think.
I mean, we know for a fact it's not up for debate that all of these American big tech companies have been complying, cooperating, colluding, no pun intended, with the U.S. intelligence community for years now.
Yeah.
For years, almost decades, right? Yeah. The revelations from Snowden, from Glenn Greenwald, prove this without a shadow of a doubt. It's undeniable.
Yeah.
And so there isn't a single one of them, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, that hasn't been working with them. So, I mean, whether willingly or unwillingly, they are one and the same.
Yeah. And the fact that they're pushing China is an enemy, meanwhile saying we can't have China with TikTok, get our information. But meanwhile,
this is a farce.
Yeah, Facebook takes our information and gives it to Cambridge Analytica, say they got breached, but they gave out millions and millions of people's personal information, their footprint, what they like. Hey, I would rather have China have my information. Some dude in Beijing, what are they going to do? Oh, look at Pasta. He likes to sing and dance and make Italian food. He has my information. I'd rather let them have it than give it up to Microsoft. Jesus.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch on this real quick because a lot of people get a lot of criticism when we go after the favorite politicians of the left, like AOC. And when we go after her, it's not like we're going after her from the right. We're not saying, oh, hey, she's a bartender and she doesn't know what she's talking about. Those are the right-wing arguments that are very degradable and awful, and we can all agree that they shouldn't be the arguments you use against a politician. When we're criticizing her because we're right here and she's going towards neoliberalism and embracing it full-heartedly. And I see a lot of the backlash people get. You get it a lot because you're going after these American politicians. And one of the things she failed to do recently, we had a progressive win in Missouri. She unseated a 20-year incumbent, a dynasty of a politician, and she didn't get AOC's endorsement. AOC went out of her way to not endorse her. In fact, the majority of the squad didn't endorse the vast majority of the progressives.
And so why.
Exactly. And so then she went on Twitter and was congratulating her. But what gives me hope is the fact that people are beginning to see it. If you go through the replies, you can see that a lot of people were like, you should have endorsed her, you should have endorsed her, you should have done this. So I think what we're doing, you guys, by keeping tabs on these politicians and holding them accountable is getting to at least some people on the very tiny little left that we have here, and even people that were fans of hers. I think that's actually it's happening. But I just wanted to show her tweet because she's an opportunist. I feel like, and just so you know, Richard, we used to really love her. We used to support her wholeheartedly. We were all excited that she was going to get into office. And recently, she, we said, she's been really open about embracing the neoliberalism. She's retweeted people like Zerlina Maxwell, who is a horrible a neoliberal that goes on and talks shit about all progressives and talks shit about all the all the things we want, like Medicare for all and all these things. And she she just won she got nominated for an Emmy. AOC did because the Emmys nominated a bunch of people. One of the things that
the Obamas
she did,
too, yeah.
The Obamas, they nominated all these. If you go on the list to see what let's look at the Emmy nominees, because this is what I'm talking about. The Rachel Maddow Show, Real America with Jorge Ramos. I mean, just those two alone. This is, if you're getting pushed by the mainstream media, that's my thing. If you're getting pushed by these people, you are basically, I don't trust you. Like, why are people like these organizations that are heavily influenced by the CIA, heavily influenced by the military industrial complex? Jorge Ramos,
let me just say quickly, if you're doing your job correctly, you are going to be no friend of theirs.
Exactly. And if you're doing your job correctly, you're going to actually be smeared by them, which is what happens to the vast majority of journalists. So in America, I think, and you can comment on this, we have a problem where we love symbolism. Americans, they eat it up like it's the most delicious thing. Oh, wear this mask that says Medicare for all. Oh, wear this symbol, like wear a rainbow hat. And Democrats are better because there's a rainbow next to their name. That's American, like the symbolism, and that's hurt us so much because we embrace these symbolic gestures instead of actually getting things done and getting that policy.
Yeah, it's unreal. I remember that when she put on this mask that said Medicare for all. Like, who asked you for the mask? You were voted to pass legislation that says Medicare for all. Why don't you go and write that on a piece of paper and then get it passed in Congress, not make a mask? And then people are like, oh, but she didn't make that mask. She got it off of someone else. Motherfucker, I don't care where the mask come from, you idiot. I want people to have health care. Are you stupid or something?
Well, yeah,
like she got elected based off of certain policies. She promised to get these passed. Where are they? Can you name one?
No. And even the Twitch thing, right? Yeah. We can even go talk about the Twitch thing.
Oh,
it was very
that is
symbolic.
That fucking pisses me off. I can't see my family because the country is under sanctions. It's got the shit bombed out of it. Okay. I had to wake up every single day wondering if a mortar fell on one of my cousin's houses or something. And the only thing that she cares about is not lifting sanctions and removing American troops that are stealing oil from Syria. No. Her issue is, did these American troops that are occupying Syrian oil fields get recruited on Twitch? Oh my God. I don't care where the fuck they were recruited. What are they doing there?
Yeah,
that's the problem. And she's focusing on paintings and busts and statues in the fucking Capitol. I don't care how pretty your workplace looks. Get your fucking soldiers out of there.
Yeah.
No, but you can't have that. And if you say that, oh my God, the left is eating itself. Bitch, you ain't on the left. You're a fucking right winger. Like, it's unbelievable.
Well, she's definitely on the right side when it comes to foreign policy because she just sucks. And really, to tell you the truth, it was such a grandstanding bill. She's not talking about actually removing the actual gaming itself, where there's fucking white helmets inside the video game
really
itself. You know what I'm saying?
Literal propaganda. Literal propaganda.
Yeah, literally programming of the heads of our young minds. She wants the ads to be gone. It was such bullshit. It's not even attacking anybody. Meanwhile, you got somebody who's putting up amendments in the House saying, hey, we need to report on sanctions and stuff. Where's the squad? They're not jumping on that. Hey, you need to write a report while you're pulling out of the INF. These are Tulsi's amendments. Where's the squad on that? Where's the left on this? And
she's a right winger.
Oh, she's a right winger, right? Yeah. Please.
So, I mean,
and when she leaves, who do we have? Who in foreign policy knows what's going on? Only people on the right. Thomas Massey, Rand Paul. I mean, this is who we have to look to now? The freaking Republican Party for anti-imperialism?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And, once again, they've pulled another trick. This is the same trick that you saw in 2008. So, usually when people think of a U.S. politician, they think of an old white dude. Right. So what they did is they got rid of Bush and they brought you a really charismatic, amazing orator, got a great smile. His name's Barack Obama. But at the end of the day, his policy's no different. And so they did this again now. They got you these really beautiful, intelligent, smart, young women of color to go run for office, making you think that they're going to give you progressive policies, but shit ain't changed. Right. And it's all a facade. It's all the packaging is different. But at the core inside, nothing is changing.
Yeah. And is the argument
case in point, we still under occupation. Case in point, you don't have Medicare for all.
That may be more dangerous. Tell me what you think. I think it's more dangerous in a way to send somebody a very beautiful package that they're not suspecting is going to have a terrible, terrible bomb inside of it.
Exactly.
Because it tricks you.
Yeah, because people are going to be more accepting of this incrementalist nonsense and gradualism, and they're going to be like giving them the benefit of the doubt a million times over. No, you don't understand that these issues are very black and white. There's no time for incrementalism. There is no middle position. People need healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay, people need higher wages. It's not up for debate, and there's no time to wait around. People have been waiting 40 years for higher wages. Where they at?
We can't wait around. And another thing AOC's been doing, she's been working with Kamala, which is like the worst person to work with, but she has also been trying to break up Facebook with Elizabeth Warren. That's a good thing. We want to break up Facebook. We want to break up these big tech companies. The issue that what she's actually doing instead of breaking up Facebook, though, she's once again using it to pivot to the whole, we have to make sure that we can check what these companies are putting. And so once again, the problem when you start putting checks on things, political ads and stuff, that can go to anybody. And so that is, again, a very dangerous thing she's turning around and doing.
Zuckerberg.
And she's working with Mark Zuckerberg. Exactly.
Yeah. I'll go to the mat and fight Warren over a plan to break up Facebook.
Which I think we need to break up big tech, but I think they're doing it in a way that's subservient to what more censorship rather than just breaking up big tech and not giving it to that.
Exactly. They'll paint it as something that is beneficial to you, but it's actually working against your interests, against the interests of the public. And so they don't actually have any real intention of breaking them up. I mean, Elizabeth Warren, since you brought her up herself, she received donations from Sheryl Sandberg, who's from the top brass over at Facebook. She also received donations from one of the co-founders of Facebook. I mean, why would they donate to someone who wants to break them up?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, are they that stupid?
It's a red herring. It really is. It's
a
distraction method. They know it's never going to happen, whatnot, It's like when a Democrat votes against something that they know is going to pass anyways, but they vote just to grandstand. Like we had a situation with Tony Cardenas over here getting foreign policy, like switching sides now out of the blue. Why? Because these bills are going to pass anyways. They know what they're doing. Yeah. It is pure propaganda now that's going on when it comes to the left. I mean, they are really hitting all types of disgusting heights right now. And the fact that
it's unbelievable.
The reason why we put AOC there, and I just want to get off that, was we put her there to do one thing: to rage against the establishment, to fight them, to rage against this machine, not go ahead and join them. So every single time we see what she's doing, what we see what the squad is doing, the mama bear just sucking on foreign policy, not really giving us any type of good legislation, it just makes me sad. Because I remember the Freedom Caucus on the right, when they went in there, they made Boehner and the establishment Republicans cry. They threw Cantor out of office, and then they got Donald Trump in the White House. That's what the Tea Party movement did. We were supposed to have the same thing on the left. Here comes the progressives. We're going to get some bold progressive things. We're going to smash the Democratic Party. We're going to take over. We're going to kick some ass, and we're going to get some help for some young people out there. No.
Yeah.
And AOC has been there going along, propping up Mama Bear, voting for her, doing nothing.
She's too busy raging against the Republicans.
Exactly. Yeah. There was no hostile takeover.
Nope.
There was no hostile takeover. Nope. And I remember distinctly her saying in some coffee shop, I forget where this was, maybe that documentary on Netflix, but before she got elected, I remember her saying that she's ready to do whatever it takes to get these things done, even if it means being a one-term congresswoman.
Yep. Yeah, right.
Where is that? Where is it?
Where's that?
I don't see the same fire. I don't see the same kind of rhetoric or push. Nothing, man. Look, man, I'm not falling for these tricks. Okay, like I don't owe these politicians anything. I don't owe them any respect, any civility. I don't owe them shit. And so when I see them fooling around, and when I see them tricking and lying to people, and when I see them trying to push this incrementalist nonsense, I will not tolerate that. I don't owe you any fucking thing. Okay. Yeah. I do owe it, though, to speak for people in the Middle East, to speak for people in the global South who don't have the same platform that I've been blessed with, to point out, to show, to expose this incrementalist attitude, this laid back thing. Like, yeah, let's let the war crimes continue. Let the sanctions continue. I will point that out. You're not going to shut me up because you have some kind of fetish or you idolizing politicians. You're not supposed to idolize them.
Yeah.
They're not rock stars. They're public servants. Treat them as such.
Yeah, they're here to serve us, not the other way around.
Exactly.
the funny thing too is like when we started this channel and stuff like that, you say you're using your platform to get it out there. It's like, we're going to get out there and we're going to get a media for the grassroots. We're going to get progressives. We're going to promote them up. You know what I'm saying? She talked about it. We had a fundraiser we were a part of and stuff. So it's like for the AOCs and these new people that we thought would be coming into Congress and be on our side, we were going to be there to interview them because the mainstream media isn't. But instead, they've kind of morphed into the mainstream media. You got guys like Jamal Bauman now coming out who's praising Obama one day,
he's a funny one,
Bernie's ass, saying they would have won if you didn't
But then
cheat
saying
you.
that Joe Biden and him are going to have the
they
same
align.
Yeah, alignment. It's like, oh, you really want to align yourself with Joe Biden? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you're not even in office yet, and I'm already done with you. Like, what?
You
like,
haven't even beat the Republican yet.
Exactly. Exactly. And another thing AOC did, by the way, you know, she was pushing the Green New Deal, which is, I think, the minimum thing she should have that we should be getting right now. Then she turned around and is doing a climate equity act with Kamala Harris. Anything attached to Kamala Harris, anything attached to the establishment is going to give you crap. It's going to be like by 2100 we're going to have carbon emissions reduced to like 30%. Meanwhile, everybody is dying everywhere else. Like this incrementalism.
Just like the Unity Task Force. Right? The Unity Task Force, she was part of the climate one. She sits down with John Kerry. First of all, what is John Kerry doing here? And then, you know what?
Beats me.
They come out with nothing. Look, man, it's very simple. This Unity Task Force should have taken 1 minute to do. You walk in the room, you say, you're going to give us 100% green energy by 2030, yes or no? Anything but a yes, you walk out the room.
Yeah.
That's it. You walk out the fucking room.
Yeah.
You don't placate to these people and bend over and give them everything and all of your support.
And then get nothing.
Especially with her influence and her reach.
Yeah.
And then come out with this half-assed, with this quarter-assed measure.
Nothing.
That means nothing, because no matter what Joe Biden says, regardless, this guy has been a friend and ally. Right. He has been an agent of big oil his entire career. Yep. Motherfucker invaded Iraq. I mean, that alone is an atrocity in of itself. And now guess who controls all of the Iraqi oil fields? U.S. companies. Yeah. But not to mention inside the U.S., we know this guy serves the private sector. Who are you kidding here? You can't get no kind of deal from this dude or anyone on his camp. Ridiculous. What a farce. Yeah. If she had any backbone, she would have refused. She would have boycotted those task forces and actually stood for something.
Yeah, not just her, everybody else.
Everybody else. Yeah, of course, definitely. Right? All of them.
Because it's like, you're not going to push these politicians left. This is the idea that people think sometimes in the progressive side here. They're like, oh, we're going to push Biden left. We're going to be able to fight him better than we can fight Trump. Oh, you're going to be able to give him the millions of dollars he gets from the defense industry, from big oil. So that's how you're going to push him? Because that's the only way you're going to push Joe Biden anywhere.
Maybe they can, since Justice Democrats take super PAC money now. Who knows?
Well, you're going to be pushing him in a wheelchair soon because he's so, like, just out of it. Like, Joe, we're going to get you some milk and cookies. Listen, I'm going to say this right now. I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I just hope that the Democrats and Joe Biden lose so big that it's just so devastating that even the people are like, what the hell are we doing here? Same thing with the Green Party. I hope Howie Hawkins, less than 1%. You know, enough of these movements on the left that are supposed to be, you know, anti-interventionists. Let's get these assholes out of here. And that's the shame about this whole thing, because AOC and this crowd were supposed to be part of that. And I do hate these task force. Like, you know, when Donald Trump got elected, I had a hope. I said, maybe he's not an interventionist. Maybe Bernie will go to him and get an infrastructure deal. But instead of doing that, you know, and actually going to the people and saying, hey, you're in charge. We know this. We want to get shit done. Let's work together. They just drew a line in the sand and said, he's evil, he's terrible, he's nothing, he's crap, he's boom, 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 boom. And that's their whole plan. We're still not going to give you anything that's just that guy's crap. And it hasn't stopped since 2016, since he took office. Instead of changing and actually giving the people something and blowing these fucking neocons out of the water, these assholes, you become an asshole neocon yourself in the Democratic Party. Pooh.
That's it. That's it, man. And actually, I recall when the debates were taking place in the Republican Party, Donald Trump was actually the furthest to the left on foreign policy, right? He
Yes.
actually was preaching anti-interventionism. And I recall him go on morning shows as well and saying, like, why is Barack Obama giving logistics to rebels in Syria? We don't know who these people are.
Yep.
Maybe they're terrorists. They have
Yes.
links to
That's why he
terrorist
won.
groups. I was like, damn, motherfucker knows what
That's
he's
why he
talking
won.
about. I'm shocked. And then he gets in office and no, it's the same bullshit.
Yeah.
It's the same old war machine going again. But you would think that Democrats would oppose him on these things and call him out for lying about these things and try to come at him from the left. No. They want to go after fairy tales like Russiagate. They want to go after him about racism when they themselves are fucking racist and have done nothing for people of color and African Americans and people in the global South. These people are all playing on the same team and making a fool out of everybody.
Yeah, they can't self-incriminate. So, because if they go after Donald Trump for that, they have to go after themselves. And just to wrap this part up, so we can get on to Beirut, Max Blumenthal pretty much called him out. When AOC did this, he basically pointed out what you said. No Western state media has been labeled by Twitter. Only outlets backed by the evil have. This isn't about fighting disinformation. It's about the U.S. national security state suppressing counter-hegemonic media. 100%.
Yeah, and you see this kind of vocabulary, this language, this conditioning being implemented all the time. I grew up seeing this and witnessing this. When they talk about foreign governments, which is all the more egregious because they'll talk to you about the Syrian government or the Venezuelan government as regimes. Yet when they talk about the U.S. government, oh, that's an administration. Oh, it's an administration, right? So you pay attention to the language. Like anyone we don't like, anyone the U.S. does not like, anyone who hasn't bent the knee to Uncle Sam is a regime. Yeah. Very authoritarian, right? It's this conditioning, this subconscious, trying to imply subconsciously that these governments are authoritarian by default, as if there are no surveillance states or police states in the West.
Yeah. And they always attack their elections.
The irony.
They always attack the elections. We need to bring these countries free and fair elections. Right. Well, you know what? I wrote a little article about how we don't have free and fair elections over here, and we witnessed it right away. And it is kind of ironic because you look at things like in Venezuela, the Jimmy Carter Institute saying, yo, these are one of the best elections in the world. Then what are some of the most fairest ones? We know the OAS was just putting up bullshit to get, to make everybody look the whole, like, Evo Morales was some evil person. That was the mindset. Let's make him look awful and stuff like that.
And then the New York Times come out with like, oh, oops, we crunched the numbers and turns out maybe it wasn't illegitimate. What do you mean you crunched the numbers 6 months late? Do your fucking jobs. You call yourselves the most prized journalistic establishment on the planet, then act like it.
They're doing
their
jobs.
Same thing with the Iraq War. They did the same thing with the Iraq War. They let Condoleezza Rice write op-eds about how we need to get rid of Saddam's WMDs. We got to go in there, and they beat the fucking war drums. And then they come out after Iraq has been invaded with like, oh, we weren't as vigilant as we should have been. People are dead. What the fuck are you talking about?
Gone.
I don't accept your apology. I reject it. Screw you. Yeah. This is unacceptable. Yeah. Either do your job and then publish the stuff that you found, or shut your goddamn mouth and stop getting people killed.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. These people say that they're the counterweight and they're the fourth branch of a democracy. Hell no, they're working with the military-industrial complex. 100% complicit.
Yep. Yeah. They're doing their jobs very well criminals. For the military-industrial complex. They're doing, like, that's their job now. The fourth estate is dead. It is not about it. We are the only ones left here. We are the only ones keeping anybody accountable, the independent media, because their jobs right now is to just be subservient to the state narrative and the propaganda and the empire education that we talk about. That's it. That's their job, and they're doing a wonderful job of it now. But that's why it's so important to support independent media and what we're talking about, because we get shut down all the time. I know you do. I know they shut you down. It happens. This is why. Yeah.
Jamal got shut down 2 weeks ago, just for talking about, foreign
imperialism,
policy.
Anything about imperialism.
It's disgusting what they do. And I just want to send some shout outs real quick for the Super Chat contribution from Jim Garrison. Thank you so much. We love our man, Jim Garrison. He was the first one to try somebody in the Kennedy case. Jack Kennedy, right? Remember? In Nolens. I also want to say thank you, Super Chat contribution from William Bustos. It is always appreciated on the couch. I've said it once and I'll say it a bunch of times. AOC is a traitor. By the way, I just got here responding to the headline. Thank you so much for the Super Chat contributions. Guys, anything to say before we get off AOC? Because Obama too on this whole thing. Remember when Obama got into office, everybody's like, are you going to try Bush and Cheney for war crimes? And he was like, no, we just got to move on. It's like he was almost saying, no, because after my 8-year terms, people are going to want to try me too as well for what I'm about to do. It's like,
really? Yes, please bring it on.
Jesus. Wow. Hold my Bush was a war crime. He just destroyed the Middle East. Obama, hold my beer. Just terrible.
Oh,
for real. Can we go over this one right here?
No, you can just show the tweet, Johnny. I don't need to read it, but I basically was just reiterating what we said. And just the bottom line, a lot of the Democratic Socialist left has dismissed the civil liberties and imperialism, which we're going to talk about that in 1 second, but they're easily co-opted with the symbolism and with trying to work with the warmongering neoliberals, thinking that they can reform something, but they end up getting reform themselves. They end up falling right in line with the empire narrative. So
they have very smart marketing. They've worked this out that if they push candidates that are young women or they're people of color, then they're immune from criticism. And if you open your mouth about them, you're being misogynistic. Hey, I don't care that we bombed your country. You're a misogynist. Yeah, motherfuck you. Yeah. You better watch your mouth with me, boy. And then they want to come and tell me that I'm supposed to accept drone strikes, and I'm supposed to accept troops stealing my oil, and I'm supposed to accept this imperialism day in and day out. And if I open my mouth, I'm XYZ. I don't give a fuck. I don't owe US politicians a shit. I don't know UK politicians a shit. I don't know anyone a goddamn thing. They owe me. They owe you, the working class. Yeah. This is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. They want to play favorites with their war criminals. No. You can't say that healthcare is a human right, which it is, but then you don't give Palestinians their human rights and people in the global south their human rights. That makes you a fucking hypocrite. You don't care about human rights. You're just a neoliberal who wants healthcare. You want to come and play this game with me? Yeah. It's unbelievable, man. They want you to be oppressed. They want you to live under military occupation and fear. And then if you open your mouth, we don't like your tone. Oh yeah. I don't like the words you used.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Rich. Dr. Cornel West was on this show. He said he had a hard time when he was criticizing Obama and stuff like that he was getting yelled at. But let me tell you something. It took me a year before I could really come out and just openly criticize Obama, because being a white man, what are you doing? You're criticizing, you know what I'm saying? Because there was a lot of racist rhetoric from the Republicans. But I'm like, I'm a Democrat on the left over here at the time. I don't call myself a Democrat anymore. But, I'm on the left. I'm criticizing him about his imperialism and stuff. Oh, shut up, you racist son of a bitch. Just another white man criticizing Obama. It's like, here we go. They've actually weaponized it, so you cannot criticize about.
Exactly. Like for example, the latest video that I did about Jamal Bowman, about his policy on Palestine. Dude, no one even checks it. No one even bothers to look. No one even bothers to analyze and dissect what he said. The guy openly comes out and says, I oppose BDS. Yeah. What? So you support genocide? And everyone, no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. And it's the same thing with all these other progressives or Justice Democrats. They think that, these are young people. They're millennials, and they talk a good talk, right? They talk the talk. They're very charismatic. And on top of it, they're from minorities, right? They're either Muslim maybe or women of color or whatever. And so that automatically means that they have good policies. No, it doesn't. You got to understand something. The religion, the race, the class of the oppressor does not matter. It's still oppression. And if you reject that, and if you turn a blind eye on purpose, and you try to silence people who call that out, that makes you complicit, man. Stop idolizing these people and trying to defend their bad behavior. It's not okay. Yeah, people are fucking dying because of this stuff. That's not an overstatement. That's an understatement, man. They're going through even worse. People living in fear their entire lives, going through torture. This is really egregious, having to reiterate and explain this a million times over. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Bauman, too, the other day was like, I challenge people not to take PAC money. I challenge other candidates not to take PAC money. Don't do it. I'm like, you were just praising, you got Obama's freaking endorsement the other day, and the guy took more Wall Street money than any president before him. And you're going to sit there, and listen, a lot of people will always criticize the fact that Donald Trump talks on a third grade level. Oh, Donald Trump is just getting the stupid people to vote for him, and that's it. And he's race baiting, and he's just talking on a small, lower grade level. I said, what the shit are the Democrats doing? They're doing the same thing. You know, they're being so hypocritical with every word they speak, just hoping that a lot of people won't recognize, or they're too consumed to do the work and find out what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I do have to give it up for my people over here. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people across America that work their ass off. They're consumed because they got to work 2-3 jobs. It's just not being consumed by the Kardashians or other stupid stuff, or, you know, dumb shows that they watch and whatnot. It's a lot to do with the fact that they really economically stress people out over here, so they don't pay attention. Like, in other words, when you look at a lot of polls, only 14% of people really care about foreign policy. That's not good. That's not good at all, because the president's most power is in foreign policy. That's where they can make the biggest difference. That's where we spend all our money. And it is one of the most racist things we can do, going around bombing people in indigenous lands.
Thank you.
The most economically wasteful thing we can do. That's why we can't have nice things, Karen.
But America doesn't care because it's not in right in front
of your backyard.
Center. It's not right here.
You would think that progressives who care so much about getting health care and free college and all these nice things, which they do deserve, everybody deserves these things, but you would think that they would look to the place where you spend most of your money. 60% of the federal budget goes to the military. You would think that's the first fucking place they would look and dissect and try to understand what's going on so that they can fix the situation and mitigate it and reallocate these resources. Nope.
Because of Russia.
Policy. No.
Russia.
And
China
they pretend
can't do it.
Exactly. And you know, they act like they care about minorities. They act like they want to help out people that are being oppressed. They don't do nothing about the corrupt criminal justice system. They don't do anything about the prison industrial complex. They don't do anything to stop the wars. Man, war is fundamentally racist. I want people to get this through their heads. When you decide that you have the permission, you have given yourself the permission to go and kill people, that means you value their lives as being worth less. That is fundamentally fucking racist.
Yeah.
Even just to occupy them is fundamentally racist, because you think that they are subservient to you. No, we are not subservient. We are all fucking human beings. We're all equal. One is not superior to the other under any circumstances. I don't care what you call it, liberation or operation fucking whatever all these names they give, you know, Desert
freedom.
Storm,
always
or
freedom in it.
the most disgusting thing. It's always like the complete opposite of what they're doing. I don't care what they call it, man. It is racist. It's fundamentally racist that you give yourself the permission to go and occupy people's land and steal their resources and impose upon them your rule and think that you know better. Who said you know better? What? Because you're white? Because you're American? Because you're French? Because you're British? Who said you know better? Based on what?
Yeah.
You said that. You've given yourself this permission, but it's not true. It's not based in anything in reality, and it's fundamentally racist. And none of them do anything. Ilhan Omar, AOC, the squad, Ro Khanna's own wife has investments in 7 defense manufacturers and weapons manufacturers. Yep. What the fuck? Yeah. You don't think that's a conflict of interest? And then this guy pretends to be anti-war?
Yeah.
And he's wearing his co-chair. Right? Are you kidding me? These people, I don't care what their religion is or what their race is. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if they're going to push for imperialism, which is fundamentally racist, fundamentally cruel, it sets back countries decades and centuries, then I have no respect for them. And I don't owe them a goddamn thing. They owe me. They owe you. They owe the working class. They owe the people that they're bombing.
Yeah. But Rich, you know what they say?
Do that to them.
They say, well, we got to take care of the economic problem here first before we can stop doing that.
That is the economic problem.
I know. Yeah. By the way, Super Chat contribution from Mona Carmona says, hey guys, got to show you some love because you have the GOAT, Richie, on your show today, and it made my day a little bit better. Thank you guys
I love Mona.
For all you do. That's right.
Mona's the best.
Listen, we had on Poppy when he was a little Poppy. Now he's a big dick. He's here with us.
You know it, man. They can't hold me back.
So let's get on to
Beirut because we have you on here. We got to talk about this.
We have a lot to say. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I'm going to pack a few things, show a couple tweets, Rich, and then we'll dive into it.
Of course.
But I just want to start off with the fact is just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water, no. There is a Russian tie. And I'm only saying there's a Russian tie because you know when Western media picks up on this shit, forget about it. They're going to run. They're going to link this bombing back to Putin. Watch. There's a Russian tie to what happened with the Beirut Blast.
Of course.
So the article, I brought it up from Zero Hedge. He abandoned a deadly cargo Meet the mysterious businessman at the center of the Beirut Blast. Now, I'm not going to go over this article, but it pretty much states that back in 2013, there was some cargo set out. It was supposed to get over to Africa somehow. It left Georgia. There was a hole in the vessel itself, so they had to kind of pull into the port, or they were demanded to pull into port, and they were left there, and they seized the cargo. They wouldn't leave. There was about 8 crew members, 2 Russian, 6 Ukrainian. Eventually, they let 6 of them go back, and they kept 2 behind for a while. But the captain of the boat was able to go back, and he was a man by the name, and he's supposedly hanging out now in Cyprus with his wife. His name is Igor Greshchushkin. And he was paid $1 million to get this over there, whatnot. This ammonium nitrate.
It's a lot of money.
It was left behind. It was seized. He didn't care. He took off. They're going to look to go and grab him, they say. The authorities are looking for him to possibly bring him in for questioning. The only reason why I bring this up too as well, and it tells the whole story, because we know it was there. Like, okay, so the ammonium nitrate was there. That doesn't mean this was an accident right now, okay? We knew it was sitting there for a long time. So somebody could have easily lit the match. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it seems to me, and I'm not a weapons expert over here, that it would have a bunch of other blasts kind of go off, but everything seemed to go off coordinated at one time, like it was a Hiroshima bombing. And it was kind of funny that it's 75-year reunion right now of what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that we see a blast that's almost like 1/5, they said, of what it was.
Yeah, 1/5, yeah.
It's just scary. So I want to point it out because right now, to be continued on the Russia Gate situation, because this door just opened. And they're going to look to blame it. You know, the Western media is going to run with this story when they get it. They're going to say it has ties to Russian oligarchs. Once again, Russia bad, evil bad, 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 bad. So just be aware, be tuned, stay tuned. It's going to happen. This is some of the crew members you see up over there that wanted to go home. Lebanon was holding on to them for a little while, a couple crew members, and saying, you know, eventually after a year, they didn't let them off the boat and everything. And sometimes they were, having a hard time get food. But it's just a weird situation, and that's the backstory on it. But the bomb did go off. There was chaos to be ensued. So I want to look at some of the aerial footage right now, some of the hospitals. Quick look at the survivors. I just want to go through this, Rich, and then we can have some conversations because it's really important.
Of course. Yeah, people should see this, man.
This port is the most important port. This is their lifeline over here. And once again, we've been talking about Israel, the bombing in Syria, what's going on in the southern border of Lebanon. All of a sudden, they're saying they're having fights with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is denying it. They've been pointing the finger there. So if you really want to take out Iran and you're Israel, you're going to start taking out their allies. Lebanon, close ally to Syria. Lebanon, close ally to Iran, Hezbollah, whatnot. And the whole framing that Hezbollah is just a bunch of terrorists. People don't even know what Hezbollah is all about. And that's, I remember in a debate, they kind of trapped Tulsi Gabbard on a Hezbollah question. This was like one of the first debates because the public image of what Hezbollah is, people don't understand what Hezbollah is. And Hezbollah is mostly in southern Lebanon. And that's why this article, if you read into the article, they say that Hezbollah was kind of in the area and kind of controlled the port. No, they did not. No, ridiculous. They did not. Absurd. So, I mean, what I'm saying? So, once again, just taking a look. Let's look at the aerial footage, Rich, real quick, and we'll get into it. Not important. Destroyed. Estimating like $3 billion worth of damage there. Will not be able to use the port. Already devastated economically. Politically, things are going crazy, Look at that. Look at that.
Wow.
And people are calling for the U.S. to lift some sanctions. A lot of people don't even know we're saying. I think now, Rich, Fee, probably be a good time to lift those sanctions right about now. If we were really compassionate, loving nation, we would lift those sanctions.
Pray for Beirut, though.
Pray for Beirut.
Just pray.
We're sending them prayers. They don't want your prayers. They want your help.
I mean, we want both, but yeah, we need the sanctions gone. This is just, it's not just the sanctions on Lebanon, it's the sanctions on Syria as well.
Absolutely.
Which a lot of people don't pay attention to, because Lebanon and Syria depend on each other for trade.
Right.
Always been this way. Especially in recent years, when you can get access to foreign currency inside of Syria, people, businesses, traders, they would leave all of their dollars in Lebanese banks, right? But the economic crisis in Lebanon screwed them over, because you couldn't even withdraw more than like $200. I think back in February, they put a cap on that. And now it's gotten even worse with the pandemic. And I mean, dude, this blast, unmitigated disaster. It's unbelievable. And it screws over everybody, because 80% of Lebanese goods are imported. All of the aid that goes to Syria comes through this port, because the ports in Latakia and Tartus in Syria are out of action since Syria is under sanctions. They can't be used for anything, so it all has to go through the port in Beirut. And another thing that not many people know, Lebanon, and specifically Beirut's harbor, were set to benefit very much from reconstruction in Syria. And now that screwed that. I mean, that's made sure that that's not going to happen. And dude, they've just obliterated Lebanese infrastructure and their economy even further. Like, this is always the goal, to bring these countries to their knees as much as possible, so that they can't stand on their own feet. They can't mount any kind of resistance against military occupation, to make sure that they don't pose a threat to U.S. hegemony and Zionism. And I mean, looking at what's happened in the past week alone, I mean, just last night, Israel bombed Gaza again, northern Gaza. 3-4 nights ago, they bombed Syria, southwestern Damascus, and they also bombed the night before that Gaza and Qanitra, which is in the Golan Heights. And then the week before that, you had this whole friendly fire, this made up exchange with Hezbollah on the border, which is ridiculous, because Hezbollah, when they mount an operation, they will say that they mounted an operation. They are not afraid of shit. And they won't mount some kind of tiny fart like that. That's ridiculous. Plus, Israel has cameras everywhere. They have live feeds of everything. They know what color your poop was, man. If Hezbollah really tried to cross the border, they would have footage. Where's the footage? They got nothing. Yeah. And dude, just a few weeks ago, they went and sabotaged the Natanz nuclear research facility in Iran. And you had 7 ships catching fire. And the same day that you had this explosion in the Beirut port, more industrial accidents in Iran.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on here, man? I mean,
that's been going on for months now. Let's point that out too, because a lot of people don't know about that. Like the Iran situation, there's been bombs going off around in that country for the last 2 months, if you haven't been paying attention to it, and it's been sabotaged. So it seems to me, and we've been talking about this, that Netanyahu, I mean, right now, the unemployment rate in Israel is going so high that people are starting to turn on Netanyahu. So what do? You cause a distraction. You cause a nationalistic kind of crisis, where you need to get people to turn their attention away from me and start looking at the demon. Hezbollah, Beirut, Lebanon, Iran,
it's
Syria,
a great trick.
That's the enemy. And that's why this whole bombing just is like, wait, this is way too suspicious right now. We've been talking about this stuff, and a lot of people also talk back in the days, Israel wanted South Lebanon. They want the Litani River. They want that source of fresh water. Yeah. I've seen it on Zionist maps back in the days. So what a time right now to go up and grab that water. Now that water is becoming one of the most important priceless commodities on this planet right now. Yes. We're seeing water wars left and right. There's a lot of shit going on with the dams in Turkey and how that affects Iraq and how it's bleeding out Iraq. Well, I mean, right now, even though they have these desalination plants, they can be bombed. And I think over the last, what the Houthis did a couple years ago in Saudi Arabia, when they bombed that oil plant, they started looking at these desalination plants like, hey, Saudi Arabia, you ain't got really a friendly kind of landscape. We'll bomb your desalination plants. Hey, Israel, you want to mess around? We'll bomb your desalination plants. So it seems like they're being kind of proactive themselves, American intelligence, because I think the one thing we might disagree a little bit, Rich, on is, yes, Hezbollah has removed and run Israel twice out of South Lebanon. And they've done it in the last couple decades and stuff like that. And I think that Israel and the United States understands that they're not going to win like an asymmetrical warfare against these guys, these guerrilla tactics. Iran can, do the same thing. So what do? Let's start taking out the tentacles of Iran, right? Let's start with Lebanon. Let's get rid of them. Let's bomb them.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Let's get them down.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Because, when they tell Syria, for example, that we're going to occupy the oil fields, when the U.S. says we're not leaving the oil fields and we're going to make sure that your trade routes are closed and we're going to occupy your breadbasket and we're going to starve your people and put on these brutal sanctions. It's not just about Syria. This is also a way to pressure and screw over Iran indirectly. Okay. And just like you said, they want to take out the tentacles, so to speak. They want to take out the
allies.
The allies, right? Because the name of this alliance is the axis of resistance, right? So we're talking about Hezbollah, Iran, Syria. They're known as the axis of resistance. They have agreements with each other. This is why they took out Qasem Soleimani, because he was head of the Quds force, the Jerusalem force, and he was coordinating resistance efforts in the region between these countries, right? So 100%, they know that they cannot win an asymmetrical warfare against these countries. I mean, I was in Syria next door in 2006 when they started bombing Lebanon again, and dude, Hezbollah were coming out of the fucking ground. Like, you can't win on their home turf. It's impossible. Just like you can't win in Afghanistan or you can't win in Vietnam. This is their turf. And they started coming out of the ground. You'd have like just 2-3 of them and just inflicting enormous amounts of damage. And so the way they're trying to do this now is like, why bother with that if they can go for the infrastructure? Yeah. Right? Yeah. This is not just going to hurt Lebanon. It's going to hurt Syria as well very badly. People just need to look at the situation and ask themselves, who has anything to gain from this? Who's the party that benefits from this at all? It's Israel.
Israel. Sorry. I got a cough. And Soleimani, you mentioned Soleimani. Soleimani worked with other militias. That's what his thing was, going around working with other guerrilla warfare tactics. So taking him out, taking the port out, it just seems too connected, Rich, too stinky for
this is Israel's MO. This is how they work. I mean, to look at the history of the Mossad and of the IDF, the hundreds of times that they have bombed Syria, taking advantage of this war to infiltrate Syrian airspace and bomb targets inside of Syria, bombing Iraq in the 80s, bombing Iran. They just treat the Middle East like it's their backyard. They completely disrespect the sovereignty, the borders, the right to self-determination and self-governance, and the right to exist of
like
other
America.
Countries.
Exactly. In the Middle East. They're doing the same thing we do everywhere else. Yeah. Bottom line.
Exactly. This double standard. And so you look at also the history of their sabotage operations, how they wrote and deployed the Stuxnet virus with cooperation from the CIA to destroy Iran's nuclear centrifuges. You look at the Natanz nuclear facility just a few weeks ago that was blown up. Mm-hmm. This is their modus operandi. They don't always admit to these things. They do this in secret and then get out of there. And that's it. I mean, if you look at the historical and contemporary context, the first thing that comes to mind is, this was Israel. I mean, it's irrational to think the opposite. Now, again, we can't prove it 100%, but the likelihood, it's most likely is them, that they took advantage of this. Once again, as I said before, incompetence on behalf of the Lebanese port authorities does not exclude the possibility of Israeli sabotage. If the Lebanese government knew for 6 years that there is a huge amount of ammonium nitrate just sitting there in the port, you don't think the Israelis knew that?
Yeah.
No doubt. They knew that. No doubt. Of course they fucking knew that. Yeah. So why would they not take advantage of this and cripple Lebanon's infrastructure? Netanyahu went to the United Nations and held up this image accusing the Lebanese of assembling missiles next to a Hariri airport and in the dock.
Yep.
Go on the IDF's Twitter account.
Yeah.
Same thing. They posted that thing too.
2 years ago. Yeah.
They've had their eye on this port. They've had their eye on the Lebanese ports and accused them of being military targets. To the Israeli army, a child throwing a rock is a military target. Never mind a dock terrorist or a port. So for them, everything is fair game.
Yeah.
So don't put it past them to do some shit like this, because in their eyes, they're allowed to do anything. Anything is a legitimate target. Why the fuck would they not destroy our infrastructure and try to ruin our economies and livelihoods and our countries?
They're the chosen people, just like Americans are.
Let's show some more footage because people need to see this. This is a hospital. Look at the chaos outside this hospital.
في يحكي معك Oh my fucking heck. Like all of the hospitals here are
just standing out there all bloody. Yeah, they said I'm up next. I'll be up in 3 hours. I'll be able to get in there, full of blood, dripping down. Also, another thing I saw right here. This is from Christian Waked. Now listen to this one right here. I just want people to see this. Trapped for 3 days in the collapsed building, Joe Akiki was praying the whole time, holding his cross in his hand. He died praying. He died quietly. Just think about that. Laying under rubble for 3 days, you know? And a lot of people are like, oh, he was a Christian? Yeah, like people don't even understand Lebanon. Right. They're like, listen, ladies and gentlemen, their head of government is a Christian, a Sunni, and a Shia. Okay, you got to understand the way the Lebanese government works. It's just that they don't even understand Lebanon, you know?
No,
but they also don't
They
understand,
no
Rich,
clue.
and maybe you can confirm this for me too as well, because we lived in South Florida. So we would have a lot of these Cubans in South Florida that were love the West. They were waiting for the West to save us and whatnot.
The Republicans.
Yeah, the Republican Cubans. And we have that out here too as well, like in LA, where a lot of Persians are like friends of the Shah, and they hate, you know, the Ayatollah Khomeini, and they love the West and they want the West to save them. I understand in Lebanon from my friend Joey that there's a lot of people like that in Lebanon, a lot of Christians on the right that like they want the West to come save them. Is that true? Is there a lot of citizens like that over there?
Unfortunately, we also have idiots in Syria and Lebanon. Yes, we have idiots too.
They're everywhere.
Oh, really?
Jesus.
And I mean, again, this is a tiny minority of people. I mean, most people in any country want their country to remain theirs. They don't want anyone coming in. But yeah, you do have a select few morons who want to be under French colonization again. Because if you recall, when the Ottoman Empire collapsed at the end of World War I, Lebanon was placed under a French military rule, and then Lebanon and Syria became a French mandate. And so they think that, oh, if the French come in and administer this, that everything is going to be perfect, because you've had so much corruption and turmoil going back since October when those protests were happening in Martyr Square in Saht al-Shuhada. And this is ridiculous. I mean, it's so degrading and embarrassing for someone to even suggest such a thing, like throwing yourselves at the feet of this white man who just got off of a plane. Like, have some fucking self-respect, man. And on top of it, the irony is that this whole region is unstable, and in chaos because of the fucking French and British, you moron.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? And you have got another select few idiots who would like the Ottomans to come and take over Lebanon again. I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't believe the shit that I'm hearing. You know, and I'd say this as an Arab Christian. I'd say this as a Syrian Christian. I'm embarrassed about the Christians in Lebanon who think like this, who want to be subservient to the French again. Get the fuck out of here, man. And by the way, I got my own family in Beirut as well and in Lebanon. So like I'm not, you know, I'm very well placed to talk about this as well. I've been in Lebanon more times than I can goddamn count. So these people are a fucking embarrassment. Like, I mean, we've been under 400. We had the Crusaders attacking us. We had 400 years of rule by the Ottomans. Then the French and the British come in and start carving up the region. Then they stick Israel right in the middle. Then America starts bombing us left and right. Like, have some fucking shame and self-respect, ya hmar. God damn it, man. I would rather live in a fucking tent and in rubble than give a centimeter, than give an inch to an imperialist. They can go and fuck themselves. I don't care what kind of infrastructure or rule you think they bring with them. They don't have any of your interests at heart. They look down on you. You know, if you're Arab and you try to go to their countries, you think they'll let you in? Huh.
Yeah, I hear you. It's funny too because you talk about that. Like, I went to a Cubans for Bernie rally back in the days, and it was so awesome because it was all the kids of those Republican right-wing Cubans who love the West,
communists.
who hate communism and hate socialism. And I felt it was just like a little karma, like, oh yeah, you're getting your parents back by supporting a socialist. Love it and stuff. Listen, I'm going to show this next video right here real quick, Rich, because everybody saw the beautiful Lebanese bride that was about to be married.
Geez.
Well, we found another one, and we have a super chat contribution from Toonsy. It says Pink Floyd's Animals album from 1977 has never been more relevant. I think it might have been playing in the background as we heard this blast. Check out this video real quick. music never stopped.
Jeez.
How about that? You got to get married and boom.
That's what happens when you move on this in these parts of the country, of the world, where I think that's what it is. I think Americans don't realize like how bombs are like a daily occurrence. Like, I mean, people here were freaked out about the fireworks happening during the protests. And it's I'm over here thinking like, do you guys realize like this is what we do to other like with actual bombs, like literally like directed at them? Like, we don't realize that because we've never had to. There's that American self-centered attitude that we just it's all wonderful, but we don't really understand what it's like to live with bombs going off constantly. And the minute we even get a taste of that, people are like, no, we're not going to put up with this.
Yeah, and Portland was scary for us, and that's not even half as bad as what's going on. I mean, they were shooting fed gas, knocking down windows, rubber bullets. A kid got hit in the head. Another journalist got a foot broken right in front of us and stuff. But that's
like a fraction of what we do
what's going
abroad.
on over there. I mean, there's actual bombs being dropped on families every day. But, Rich, something to point out, too, as well, because even though we can point the finger at Israel and, imperialism and what's going on, is that Lebanon has its own problems, too, as well. And where do we go from here is the next question. A lot of young people in Beirut, I want to show this right here. There's a video. They've taken to the streets. Now, they've been taken to the streets for quite some time. It says, yes, people are angry tonight in Beirut. What does the government expect? We basically have been living on a ticking time bomb in the city for the past 6 years with 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate impounded in Beirut's port since 2014, Lebanon. So even though we have the Israeli situation, we have the sanctions from America, that whole situation going on, Lebanon has a problem within itself. Its government has fallen. They had their own austerity problems with bankers stealing their money left and right. You know what I'm saying? Once again, we're going to hang bankers whether they're in Beirut or America. But, they're taken to the streets. My question to you, Rich, is what's going to happen next in Beirut?
Well, I just want to say something because I don't think people realize how far the West, specifically the U.S. and specifically Israel and the Mossad, will go to make sure that these countries remain unsafe, remain unstable. I mean, let's not forget that during the Cold War, they almost got one of their Mossad agents, Eli Cohen, whose cover name was Amin Tabet, pretend to be Syrian, go back to Syria from Argentina. They made a whole fake life for him in Argentina, a fake identity that he's from the expat community. He infiltrated Syria, rose up in the society through these lavish parties, made friends with generals and all this. He almost became the fucking defense minister. A Mossad agent almost became the defense minister in Syria. So what is a port in Beirut compared to that? So it's very easy to say, oh yeah, well, maybe we just got a corrupt government. How do you know that there's no one else is sticking their hand in your business? You have
right.
Lebanon, Syria's government and military and state is airtight. Lebanon is nothing like that. That place is crawling with Israeli sympathizers. You even had Christians fighting with the Israeli army during the Civil War. Yes, that happened. Yeah. And it's, you got spies and people infiltrating Lebanon. I mean, like it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? So you can't rule out that this was just 100. You can't say for 100% that this was incompetence. You can't rule out the fact that there may have been malice. Nonetheless, of course, these countries are, dealing with their own internal issues. But one thing that I pointed out the other day when I was streaming, I said that when you look at the world and you see that, we have these developed countries and then we have developing countries, and the developing countries have way worse issues with corruption and their issues with infrastructure are much more egregious, and they seem to keep on struggling with debt, and it's just they're always being held back. Ask yourself, why is that? Do you not think that being colonized for hundreds of years and having your resources plundered and your people killed and enslaved and still being under occupation, having this neo-colonialist relationship with the West, being constantly bombed is going to make your country unstable and lead to more corruption and lead to more instability. It's so easy to just point fingers at the Middle East and be like, oh man, well, you know, they're just corrupt and oh, it's the Middle East, they're always fighting. Yeah, well, if you don't leave the fucking Middle East alone, of course you're always going to have issues. If you have people with nefarious intentions who are constantly, you know, prodding and trying to make sure that these countries are held back, of course you're going to end up with a region that's very unstable. You know, all these developed countries, France, UK, Belgium, all these former Western powers that had colonies all over the planet, they're developed and they're doing much better because they fucking stole all the resources and exploited these countries and they got theirs. So it's very easy now to look at countries that have been held back and oppressed for hundreds of years, centuries, man. I'm talking even under the Ottomans, 400 years. It's very easy to look at them and be like, oh, they got their own issues. Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why they're not at the same level of development. So that's something that people need to take into consideration because this is real shit. And the neocolonialism is still going on. You know, you have the IMF and the World Bank putting these countries into handcuffs. IMF won't even give Lebanon fucking money. You think that doesn't hurt them? Trying to handcuff them into debt. And you have Israel next door constantly bombing and violating their sovereignty. Like even when they go to bomb Syria, when Lebanon is not even the target, they'll violate Lebanese airspace. There's no respect. Like these countries are not even given the chance to develop. They're not left in peace. They have not been left in peace for almost 1,000 years. So, you know, of course, you're going to have infrastructure issues, corruption. You're going to have things that lead to nonsense like this and tragedies like this. And, you know, man, I tell you one thing. No matter what, it is up to the Lebanese to deal with Lebanese issues. But, you know, saying that the French need to come in or the Ottomans, the Turks need to come in, I mean, this is disgusting. Like only someone with zero self-respect, with zero dignity, someone who wants to be pussy whipped and submit themselves to some colonialist, imperialist force would speak like that. That is disgusting. Like if you love France so much, go and live in France. Like no one in Lebanon, the majority of people in Lebanon do not want to be a fucking colony or a mandate again. All right. And Syria does not want French forces on their fucking border again. Okay. We already had this. We've been through this. We're done with that. All right. This is inexcusable what's happening. But you know, these issues of corruption, it's very, very complicated, man. It is. You know,
I have a suggestion.
You had the prime minister resigning a few months ago. You had the finance minister resigning last month. Or in June rather. And you had these protests already in October. The whole thing is unstable. And you know, the root cause of this is always going to be the economy, right? When there are economic hardships, everybody suffers. You have unemployment, the hyperinflation, the prices go up, food is expensive, especially in a country that imports most of its goods. Where do these economic hardships come from? You don't think the war in Syria has something to do with that? The fact that, you know, they can't trade with their biggest trading partner is incapacitated. You don't think the sanctions have something to do with that? Once again, these countries are just not left the fuck alone to even thrive and develop in the first place. They're not even given that opportunity. So unless you have to start by removing the pressure, the stranglehold that is coming from the outside. Do you understand? Like that's the first step.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Yeah. Well, here's my suggestion. You ready?
I'm ready.
China. Bring them in. Help them.
Yeah, they've been
no, seriously, help them. Like, listen, they're building that. They built that dam. In Ethiopia. Now I understand there's a geopolitical thing going on right now, United States, China, and whatnot. But what choice do you have? You got to get the stranglehold.
They've been in talks with Lebanon.
The West
they've been in
there.
talks with Lebanon just now.
China and Iran are doing something. China and Lebanon's got to do something. Come on in.
Yeah.
Build up this port. Help us out. You know, if we got to get if they got to rock China's monetary system, who cares? China can import some stuff. You know what I'm saying? China would control a lot of their economy, but who cares? It's not this kind of like crazy imperialistic, westernized IMF stranglehold that's there. Bring China in.
Yeah, I mean, China, they've indicated not just to Syria, but also to Lebanon and to Iran that they are willing to proceed with more economic cooperation and trade, even despite these sanctions from the US and the EU, because, you know, they're interested in trade and mutual respect and cooperation, as opposed to bombing the crap out of each other and then just plundering people's resources. I mean, I'm sorry, but I think anyone with a shred of empathy and common sense knows that maybe having peaceful trade with each other is better than bombing the crap out of each other and going and impressing people. And, you know, the United States are very afraid of this. Israel is very afraid of this. The West are afraid of this because this Belt and Road Initiative that China are trying to implement, the fact that Russia and China are trying to decouple from the US dollar and move towards other alternatives, and the fact that, green energy is becoming more and more dominant and prevalent, because 40% of all green energy is produced by China. Like, China are not interested in making enemies. They're thinking of this in a very smart way in the long term, right? Instead of making enemies, let's get everybody on our side by trading with them peacefully. Yeah. Like, that's the strategy that they've adopted.
And not only that, Rich, moving people out of poverty when they do it. I want to point that out too as well. When they build their infrastructure, they take poor people and they move them out of poverty in the process. Go on, please.
Yeah, I knew this like from a decade ago already, how they would increase the wages substantially, triple them for workers, making sure that their standard of living rises proportionately to the economic growth. Whereas when you look at the U.S., man, there's been no wage increase for the last 40 years. How can you possibly rationalize that?
It's the other way.
We've been going the other way.
We've been going the opposite way.
We've been going down.
Exactly.
We got gig economy now.
You've been more productive. You've been more productive. You output more. You do more and serve these capitalists even more. And they just crap all over you and don't even increase your wages. I mean, it's disgusting. It's dehumanizing. It's truly dehumanizing. And so, again, man, no one is saying China's perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect country. But, I mean, when you look at these two different strategies, well, I mean, come on. We're not going to have a debate here. Imperialism is not a fucking option. Oppressing people is not an option. Okay? Yeah. This is ridiculous. This is unsustainable. It's counterproductive. It is destructive. It is a fucking evil force. And this cannot be permitted to continue. And, the fact that the U.S. is now trying to ban TikTok, they're going after Huawei. They're engaging in this trade war with China. Right. They're trying to, simulate what is effectively a new Cold War, right? Ben Norton, the Gray Zone, talk a lot about this. They feel threatened. They know that the U.S. hegemony is threatened, that their role as the world's hyperpower is threatened by this, especially when these countries go against the grain, right? You heard Chris Murphy, the Connecticut senator, saying himself, like, we tried to get rid of Maduro and we backed China and Russia into a corner, and they're not budging. Yeah. There's a reason they ain't budging, because they don't give a fuck. Yeah. The power dynamic is shifting, and the U.S. is now an empire in decline. And I really respect Iran. I really respect China. I really respect Russia for having Syria's back through everything, through the sanctions, through the war, through the suffering, and not abandoning the Syrian people and leaving them to be run over by CIA-backed jihadists and killed off. Yeah,
they're also in Beirut right now. They have like a little medical tent area right now. They just sent a bunch of people, a bunch of helpers over right away from Russia. It was just like in Italy. I remember we saw this little video of a guy who went out and he takes the American flag away, and he puts the Russia flag next to the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he's like, thank you. Like, China and Russia are helping us out over here.
But do you want authoritarianism?
Exactly.
Do you want China's authoritarianism? Come on.
Please, and stuff.
The U.S. isn't authoritarian at all.
And when you say, Rich, that we're being more productive, I'm going to give my Joe Biden. These young kids, give me a break. Give me a break.
They're lazy.
He says. They're lazy. They don't do anything.
You remember that? Ridiculous. Yeah. This guy is an enemy of the people and the working class and any sane human. And I remember exactly during the coronavirus, at the height of the wave, you had planes coming in from Cuba, from China, from Russia, helping these countries. And let me point out, right this minute, Iran and Syria sent tons of aid to Lebanon, even though they are under sanctions. They can't import medical equipment. They don't have access to foreign currencies. They have a very finite amount of resources. And even before that, I mean, Syria is producing and generating electricity for Lebanon during a fucking war. Yeah. And then Israel and the U.S. and these Western countries, and Macron, the imperialist, who gets off his plane like thinking he's Charles de Gaulle or something, getting off in Brazzaville back in the 50s, like this colonialist coming down. Oh, the white man is here. These guys, they pretend to care about Lebanon and the Middle East for like 2 days and then fuck off and then put sanctions on these countries. Nah, man. Yeah. Syria, Iran, Lebanon, we stand with each other.
Yeah. You're funny because you want to talk about sanctions and stuff like that. This is the grandstanding. Let's talk more about the squad. Rashida Tlaib over here. This impeached president is still deporting people to Beirut in the midst of a catastrophe that has destroyed Lebanon's healthcare infrastructure and food supply. Stop the deportations now. How many people have been deported to frigging goddamn Beirut right now? I want to look at it. How many people are we really deporting to Beirut. She doesn't say shit about the sanctions, but this is what they do. They virtue signal the whole time. Here's the squad. They're deporting people. ICE is even getting involved in deporting people to the Middle East. Hey, Rashida, they got sanctions on there, and you ain't said shit.
Exactly. This highlights the hypocrisy. This highlights the flat out ignorance. And I mean, you can't have it both ways, man. Like, either these people are extremely smart and, they're the solution to everything. They're going to fix everything, or they're complicit and, they're going to screw you over. You can't say that, we just need to elect more progressives. And then once they get into office, like, but they can't really do that much. Why are you attacking them? What? Listen, man, the squad, they know what's going on. But instead of actually talking about real issues like sanctions or pulling troops out, they want to attack Trump and use even this tragedy that just happened in Lebanon as an excuse to attack Trump.
Politicize it. Terrible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Deportations, bitch, sanctions and war are a million times worse.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with going back to Lebanon if you would stop fucking bombing it and sanctioning it. It's
exactly. We would have
Syria.
You wouldn't have people fleeing to come here. Hello.
And then people, the squad is getting bigger. Look at this. This is what you got. This woman over here talking about freaking deportations to Beirut. Deportations. We're sanctioning the shit out of them. We're killing babies over there. We don't
because the people we elect don't care about foreign policy. That's the problem. Progressives have never given a damn about foreign policy in the progressives that they push. They haven't.
Either they are completely pig shit ignorant, or they are complicit. And in both cases, these people are not suitable for the job.
Yeah. Is it possible that empire education never taught them that sanctions are an act of war? Maybe.
Very possible. But if I know this and you guys know this, they know this.
Yeah.
So, they know damn well.
I didn't know till I came out here in California and Fiorella and Pasta were doing their thing, so that's what I'm saying. Empire education never taught me that.
But then in that case, then they shouldn't be running for office if we are able to figure this out and they aren't.
So then, like in the future, for people who we want to put in an office, we should make sure that they're aware of all this foreign policy, the sanctions and everything. And then if they go in, if we know they're aware and we got them on record before they go in, and then they go in and do the same thing, then that's
the thing, though. That's the thing, though. They will market themselves as, look at me. I'm such a humanitarian. I want people to have health care and I want to end the wars, right? You always hear end the wars. Right. No. Stop right there. I didn't ask you about the wars alone. I want to know about sanctions. I want to know about embargoes. I want to know about the fact that you're going to come and intimidate local production with your multinational, transnational corporations trying to infiltrate these markets. What about those things? I was saying this yesterday during my live stream, man. Syria, I don't know if a lot of people know this. I really want people to understand this. Syria has been under sanctions for decades, and Syria became self-sufficient to the point where we had a surplus of wheat. Italy was importing wheat for their pasta from Syria. That's how much we could produce. This is the Fertile Crescent. This is Mesopotamia, baby. You know what I'm saying? This is the original farm. So we got the ways to do this. We learned how to cope, just like Iran learned how to cope under sanctions. And even with medicine, we were self-sufficient. We were producing our own medicine. And now they won't let us have medical equipment. They're burning our wheat. They won't let us trade with anyone. These Caesar sanctions, the new ones that they implemented, are designed to cripple and have a scorched earth policy, right? It's not about getting rid of the Syrian government anymore, as if anyone has the right to do that. But it's about making the Syrian people suffer. And I want to drive home this point about how evil sanctions are. Like, if you have a factory that produces insulin, okay, and a B-52 carpet bombs that factory, there's no difference whether you carpet bomb the insulin factory with a B-52 or whether you ban this country from importing the machinery, the chemicals to make the insulin. At the end of the day, you're going to have people with diabetes who can't get their insulin, and you're going to fucking kill them. Yeah. There's no difference. It's civilians suffering.
Yeah. They did it in Venezuela, too, as well, when there was an outbreak in the Amazon of malaria, and they needed freaking medicine. And they asked their neighbor, Colombia, but because of sanctions, Colombia couldn't sell Maduro and Venezuela the medicine. So they had to fly it in from India.
Pasta,
So-
you don't get it. Maduro's evil, so Venezuelans just have to die.
Yeah,
man. Assad is evil, so Syrians have to starve.
Yes. So waiting to get the insulin and all this stuff in, all the medicine from India took weeks, if not months. How many kids, how many children died because of that? And that is U.S. policy. Let's starve them out. Let's put the boot on the neck. I was even talking to my mom the other day, and we were talking about, Mom, what do you think about sanctions? She goes, well, sometimes sanctions are good. Name me one time they were good, Mom. But that's the whole thing, is that people just hear that word sanctions. They don't really even look deeply into it. In fact, it was funny because on this couch, when we had Tulsi Gabbard on, we asked her about sanctions. And she said, you know something, I've been looking into this. I've been studying this. There's no mechanism in government that says how the sanctions affect the actual people. There's no statistics on what our sanctions actually do. So it wasn't surprising to me when she came forth and she was trying to push this within Congress. But where was the squad?
Just recently,
yeah,
right?
Just recently.
Yeah.
I mean, right there it is. Tulsi Gabbard on sanctions, guys. A year ago, we talked about it. You know what I'm saying? And she was already like, listen, we need this. We need to right the ship here. If we're going to put sanctions on countries, we not only let the people know, but the Congress needs to know. How in the world is Congress not getting data on the sanctions they impose on other countries?
I can assure you they are, man. Like, you can bet your ass the DOD, they know the shit, because they nail it down to a science. They calculate it in a way that, look, if we deprive them of wheat, for example, how many months is it going to take before people start starving? And it's just like with Israel, you know, they calculate down to the calorie how much food Palestinians get, just enough so that they're still hungry, but they're not dying.
Yeah.
It's evil fucking shit.
Yeah.
They
want people
know
to
what
turn
they're
on their
doing
government.
internally. You know, they just won't publish these documents because they're classified, and they can't, like, they're not going to broadcast how evil they are. Although yesterday, when you're listening to the Senate hearing and about Venezuela, or the other day with Mike Pompeo about Syria, they're gloating about how these sanctions are screwing over Syria. Like, they're talking about Assad's son. Motherfucker, Assad's son is 18. Yeah. The dude was in diapers. Who the fuck cares about his goddamn son? That's not the issue. The Syrian population being deprived of food and medical supplies is the fucking issue. Fuck his son. Like, do you see how they try to divert and subtly gloat? And he's like, is more coming? More sanctions? And he's like, yes, sir. Yes,
well, they
sir.
want people to turn on their own government and to demand the West for help.
It's not going to happen, though. It's not going to happen.
Want.
People in Venezuela, people in Syria, people in Iran are not fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Now, it's which further accentuates how evil these sanctions are, because they know that it's not going to happen. You know, after 9 years, you're trying to get rid of somebody and he ain't going nowhere. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe he's not as hated in this country as you make him out to be on CNN and Fox News. And so now it's just about making people suffer. That's it. It's about making people starve and committing genocide against them and putting them through the most evil things imaginable.
Quick question, guys, to the both of you. Mock receiver, the super chat contribution. Thank you very much. It's always appreciated on the couch. Fee, you start our first. What do you think about the Settle for Biden group? And then, Rich, you can give your opinions after Fee goes.
I thought it was a joke in the beginning, but it turns out it's not. It's actually like a marketing manipulation. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but it's a marketing manipulation that's using the whole, oh, look, AOC's voting for him. Oh, look, freaking Angela Davis is voting for him. I get it. He's not great because he can't stand on his own, but he's better than Trump. I think it's a marketing thing using comedy to get people to fall in line to vote for this bullshit racist warmonger that is Joe Biden. I think that's it.
Rich, settle for Biden? You going to settle for Biden, Joe? You going to settle for Joe?
This is a farce. This is ridiculous. I mean, how insulting. Just the word, like the fact that they use the term settle as if like, you better accept that shit, bitch. Like, no one has to settle for that. Like the audacity, the brazen arrogance of saying that you have to compromise, as if you serve the politician and not the other way around. Do you see the from where they depart? It's very telling about the mentality that they have. And I don't give a fuck who AOC is voting for. Like, they're asking you to choose between Trump and Biden. I mean, this is like asking somebody to choose between, someone who works in the Gestapo or the SS. Bitch, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
No one wants either of that. And they're not even offering you one single policy that benefits you. Based on what are you supposed to vote for these people? This is ridiculous. Absolutely absurd and insulting.
But Trump. You know, I liked what Monica put over there. She put, shit, I was settling for Bernie.
Bernie
was the compromise.
He was my compromise.
These
people act like we're Democrats. Like the vast majority of the people that aren't going to settle for Biden, like we're compromising
Bernie
with
was
Sanders.
the compromise.
Yeah, he was.
Bernie was the compromise, and people don't realize that even if you had Bernie elected, nothing would fundamentally change.
Especially foreign policy was not going to change that much.
That's for sure. But even if you implemented every single one of his policies, even the wealth tax, and Medicare for all and Green New Deal and all these things, you would still have oligarchs and billionaires running the country. You know, they would still be in possession of exorbitant amounts of wealth. Yeah. But so he was the compromise, right? Yeah. Right. And they couldn't even give you that. And it's just absolutely insulting that you are asked to settle for Biden as if like you owe them something. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. They flipped the entire thing on its head.
Sit down and finish your peas. I don't care if you don't like them. Munted Gron gave us a nice super chat contribution with the keep it up sticker with the guy lifting weights, moving his foot up and down. Mona Carmona. Hey, man, we're going to have Rich on the show a lot more because we get Mona Carmona over here giving us love. New subscriber here, y'all. Legit. Thank you for speaking the truth. Mona. Thank you, Mona Carmona. We love Rich. That's why we have him on, and we appreciate you coming over and subscribing with us. We also have Cannabis Sativa. Thank you for the super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. You like that? No. Russia called America first when 9/11 happened. Yep. And Johnny put up the settle for Biden. Finish your peas. I don't care if you like it. If you don't want it. It says, we are a grassroots group of former Sanders and Warren supporters working to unite the party around an imperfect candidate so we can get Trump out of office. I don't even know if
I believe that.
Okay, so they're climbers. They're climbers, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, how can you go from Sanders to Biden? They're diametrically opposed on every single policy. How can you go from one to the other?
Because Joe is my friend.
To do it. Yeah, some people are stupid enough.
Oh God, I had conveniently forgotten about that atrocity being repeated every week. Yeah. Joe Biden is a friend of mine.
What? Go for him. Go for him. No. Joe Biden.
You got shitty friends, pal.
Yeah. Right.
It's time to settle. There's one right now that has the Biden. It's the Bernie sign, and somebody put a piece of tape over it and put Biden. Put Biden.
Oh God.
And changed the E to the end. You know, like it was tape, and it says okay. I'll settle for Biden, but it's just...
Oh, my God.
It's ridiculous at this point.
Do you see how they've transformed this into an entertainment sport?
Yeah, that's all it is. Pick your team. Team A, Team B. It's a football game.
Here we go. Look what Johnny found. Read it out, Johnny. Here we go. Here it is again.
Oh, boy.
There it is. A vote for a third party is a vote for Donald Trump. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote for sexism, racism, homophobia, and fascism.
So what's a vote for Joe Biden?
No, a vote for a third party is a vote for third party.
Well, I mean, a vote, you can say a vote for the Democrats nowadays is a vote for imperialism, a vote to suppress your civil liberties. You're not going to get election integrity and stuff. I mean, these are the things that the left, used to champion, and now they've just walked away from it. I mean, the left is more crypto-fascist when it comes to suppressing your voice than the right is. Yeah. And that's hard for me to say because, it was always the right, who was always that way. It's just...
They're both right. They're both right-wingers.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. There really isn't. And it's actually shocking because if you go and look at Europe, even in Europe, right-wingers support universal health care. Like, this is not something that even comes up for debate. Yep. Just to give you how much of an idea how far fucking whack these politicians are, how bought and corrupt they are. It's unreal.
We got to get out of here. We're almost done 95 minutes. Let me read the last couple super chats. Munted Gronk breaking. Convo Couch is really just two chairs side by side. I don't know what you're talking about, Munted Gronk. This is an actual lovable, comfortable couch. This is where we do. This is our arena. Is the couch.
Exactly.
This is where we. Dude, this is our sport. This is what we do. This is where the convo comes right here. Jonathan Neves, thank you so much for the super chat contribution, Jonathan. That is very, very generous of you. Would an anti-imperialist platform be a winning ticket against Adam Schiff? I have thought about running against Adam Schiff. He's right next door. I said, if I want to run for Congress, I want to run against somebody that I can just blast on every day. I want to run against the CIA stooge.
So you mean all of them?
Yeah.
Well, Adam Schiff he's big up there. Adam Schiff has been out in front for every single war. Hey, they couldn't bomb Libya quick enough for Adam Schiff. They couldn't get into Syria quick enough for Adam Schiff.
Do you know how much my fucking heart breaks thinking about this every day, man? Like, I really... the amount of suffering that people go through in Yemen, in Libya, in Iraq. It's just. And by the way, still, since we're still on the air, I just want to advise everybody. I implore you to go watch this new documentary called "Once Upon a Time in Iraq." Now, there's a PBS version, but the PBS version is quite condensed. The one you want to go see is the BBC version, which is it's separated into 5 episodes.
Yeah.
And that stuff is going to break your heart. I cried my eyes out, and it's really harrowing. Just beware of the 2 narratives where they try to tell you like, oh, there were so many Iraqis that were pro-war bullshit, and like, oh, the coalition troops, they just had the best intentions and they had some accidents. No,
Disgusting.
But the rest of it is really important. So I just wanted to say that quickly. That's very important.
They were playing freaking heavy metal while they were storming with their tanks into Baghdad. Let the bodies hit the ground. I'll never forget that shit was just, I mean, what we do to our troops here to brainwash them to going to do these things is also disgusting. And by the way, Jonathan Nieves, he said, would an anti-imperialist platform be a winning ticket against Adam Schiff? Just wondering, keep up the hard work, informing everybody of the grotesque system we have. And Fireboy also left a nice little super chat contribution. Thank you so much, Fireboy. That was my nickname when I was in the 8th grade.
Really? I thought it was Meatball.
Are you an arsonist by trade or?
No, I was just always on fire. Boom!
Of course, man. You know it. You know it.
His real
Convo
nickname
Couch.
was Meatball, but
They called me Meatball for a couple of years because I didn't like pasta, so I shut up and I took pasta, and now I am pasta. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a long show today. We're at 97, 98 minutes. We want to thank everybody for coming on in, helping us out with these super chat contributions. We want to thank you all who over on our ROKFIN. We only saw 5 or 6. Pijman, Elijah Logan, Anthony Penza. Thank you guys so much. Go over to the ROKFIN, ROKFIN.
We're all there.
We're all there. Rich is over there too as well. So go on over there, help us out. And to our Patreons, we now have 119. Thank you so much, everybody. That is awesome. We love you. You really help us out. We're going to get back on the grounds. Despite COVID, we still have a couple elections coming up. Florida soon. We're going to get some news going on, see what's going to happen over there, especially District 23, see what's going up in northern Florida with Clint Curtis. We'll have our boots on the ground, and we'll bring you what's going to happen over there. It's Debbie Wasserman Schultz's area. We know about her, so we'll bring you some great news. Johnny, anything else before we get on out of here? Shout out, Rick. Right. Hey, I want to send a special shout out. We know we had him over here first. Dick Medhurst. We love him. Rich, anything else to close us out? Tell us people where they can go find you, any love they can give you, and we'll close us out.
Well, you know I'm in the Kremlin basement 24/7.
There you go.
So you guys can find me on Twitter. So just type Richard Medhurst in the search bar. You'll find me immediately. Richard Medhurst. And my YouTube is youtube.com/Richard Medhurst. And yeah, just head on over if you want more anti-imperialist. I mean, I cover U.S. politics, but I'm also doing extensive coverage on the Middle East and imperialist aggressions against the global South. So if you want more info on international affairs, definitely take a look.
100%.
And thank you guys so much for having me on, man. Convo Couch, this is the spot. This is the
thank
spot.
You. We're gonna have you on again soon, man. We're gonna make it a regular thing.
100%. Always a pleasure. Seriously,
that's the thing.
He said it.
Progressive News Daily was over on the ROKFIN. Goes, I was on the YouTube too. And she says, go Jen and Florida 23. Thank you, Progressive News Daily. And that's it. AOC, thumbs down. I might get rid of my purple shirt that I had when I went to her. It was so ridiculous, man. Like, the progressives put her on the map. She was on Jimmy Dore, and as soon as she won, she ghosted everybody. She ghosted everybody in the media, all the progressives. She ghosted a lot of her campaign staff that I knew over there that were pissed off. I'm talking about hardcore Latino people from the Bronx and Queens that stuck up for this woman and said, what she did to us, we'll never forget. You know, they won't tell us everything directly because they keep their mouths shut over there. They don't want to be part of that whole, you know.
She got hers, so she don't care about nobody, not even. And just very quickly, you always hear this myth that, if only we get a few more progressives elected, then everything will become roses and milk and roses, and everything will be perfect.
Yep.
Oh, really? Why didn't she endorse Cori Bush then? Why didn't she endorse other progressive candidates running if this is the strategy that you need more progressives? Yeah. What's up with that?
She won't endorse Shahid. She won't endorse Shahid against Mama Bear because it's freaking none of them. This guy is a really great candidate, and once again getting ghosted by all the progressives. None of them joined there, and meanwhile he's being nice to them. You know what I'm saying?
They're afraid. They're afraid to stand up to that.
Yep.
I'm trying not to be diplomatic about it, but you know that crooked witch, Nancy Pelosi, who is a war criminal through and through. I mean,
that's nice.
Anyone running against her would be a better person. But you know, Shahid is pretty straight on all the foreign policy stuff, as far as I can tell. I interviewed him, and he's still running against her. He won the jungle primary, and now it's him against her. And you would think that, okay, well, this is an obvious one. Why the hell would you keep Nancy Pelosi? Like, what based on what? Oh, I forgot Mama Bear, right? That's why.
Yeah, that's their mama.
Yeah, it shows you their true colors. We know now. And the people who continue to deny that these progressives, that the squad are complicit with this neoliberal establishment, need to take their heads out of their asses.
So they're part of the problem.
They're saying the squad's growing. Our squad is growing. It's like, oh my Lord, this is what, and they're
growing
transferring
with what?
all their energy away from Bernie into AOC 2024. That's what they're transferring.
Yeah, exactly. They act like they're waiting for the next bus. Motherfucker, people's lives at stake. Like, you tell me climate change is a grave threat. It is. You tell me people dying because of lack of healthcare. They are. People dying because of the wars and sanctions. They are. So what the fuck are you waiting in 2024 for?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is this? I mean, I can't handle it.
We're going to get on out of here, Rich. We'll have you on again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Johnny,
you.
nothing else?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. I'm always happy to be on. Thank you, guys.
Well, we'll do it again soon. For Pasta Jardula,
Hell yes.
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue on the ones and twos with Richard Medhurst on the couch.
Come out. Bye, guys.